The following program has a thin plot, poor character development, and graphics that are so abysmal you'll think you stepped into a time portal and landed in the early 1970s. It's the Pearl Harbor of podcasts, but the much lower budget version and featuring far too much Amber Heard. With that in mind, I may exceed your expectations. Probably not. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. Hope that your last, 3 days on hiatus from me have been exceptional. Maybe it's helped. I don't know. But I am here now. I am back in the flesh, as much flesh as you're ever gonna get from me. I'm in the flesh right here for you, and I'm not gonna kid you. Okay, so Passover. As you know, it's like Sabbath. We don't do any electronics, all that other stuff that you do in your regular day to day. So I'm still catching up on the news, and some of the news I've been seeing has been horrifying. Not going to kid you, horrifying. I'm still catching up and digesting. Usually when I do a show, so I have this whole sort of perspective. You might not be able to tell it even in the final product, but I try to have some sort of overarching theme, and I'll sort of roll through that. Tonight's theme is I'm learning the news, and you're just basically watching me picking up on what's happening in the news. So, there's a few things I definitely plan on covering. I saw that there's a new indictment that's been dropped in Arizona. I plan on looking through that, where I see that the Democrats are looking for some scalps of GOP, or prominent figures of GOP, and naming Trump as an unindicted co-conspirator. We'll talk a little bit about that. I definitely plan on catching up as to developments in the Trump trial here in New York, and I'm also going to be looking at some other things that have been percolating in my mind. I see. I'm not going to kid you. One of the things I've avoided dealing with on my show a lot. One is this growing wave of anti-Semitism. I'm just I don't want my channel to become all about that. It's becoming pervasive enough at this point that it's getting harder and harder for me to just put that to the side and not discuss it at all. So at some point tonight, I'm gonna address it and recommend that everyone I know buy a gun. Not to use it, God forbid, for just self-defense, and and address this growing wave, which is just reaching shocking, or many people consider shocking proportions, and others have basically been saying it was a matter of time, unfortunately. So we're going to be talking a little bit. I'll be talking a little bit about that and catching up on other stuff in the news. Hopefully, not all of it quite as heavy as that, because that's not the sort of thing that I really want to walk out on the show tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to be dealing. I'm sort of torn. I put a poll up in locals. This is my very veiled, not so thinly veiled, like thickly veiled. No, it's actually very thinly veiled. Sorry, just the opposite. Really thin. No, it's transparent, okay? It's very thinly veiled direction that you need to sign up in locals, because what I put up there was a poll that I don't know what I should do tomorrow, because the three choices I have is that the Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments about Trump's potential presidential immunity. And that certainly seems to be leading in the polls. Another thought I have is that perhaps I'm going to go down to the Trump trial and actually watch it and see what's happening there and report back to you on that afterwards. The third thought I have is that I might go down to the appellate division and address an issue I've been having with a clerk there who doesn't want to allow my case that's going right now with Merchant to be findable by anyone, which is very disconcerting to me. I don't know what relief I can get by going down there, but those are my three options. I don't know that I can do more than one of them tomorrow. And frankly, tomorrow is the only day I have until another week. Passover is really being very aggressive in eating up a lot of time availability. So we'll see when we do that. So I put a poll out there asking you guys what you'd like me to do, and I figure, any one of them works for me, and whatever you think is the best expenditure of my time probably is the right call. I'm really here to serve the public, and if that's what they want me to do, well, whichever one it is. But right now, I will tell you that the Supreme Court arguments are leading fairly strongly. That would be tomorrow morning. I gotta check what time it is. I'm not sure if it's at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., but that's clearly directly interfering with my ability to go to New York City and cover the Trump trial or deal with a clerk there. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Old Drill Sergeant, dear leader, best cult leader, you're too kind. Not really a leader in any way, shape, or form, but yeah. Let's get started. I want to start by looking at what's happening in Arizona here, because my God, I'm not going to go through the entire indictment because I just don't have the patience for it to sit through a 58-page indictment. But there are new indictments that have dropped. Oh, you see, you've been having withdrawal. I've been having withdrawal. I when I'm not here, I sort of get very edgy. I get very edgy. I'm sort of used to coming out here and hanging with you guys. I will be streaming tomorrow night, God willing. Tomorrow evening, probably my normal time, 10 p.m. So I will be streaming at that time. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming that, and then I might be going like on a 5-day hiatus. Not kidding. It could be a long one. It could be my longest hiatus since I started streaming. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stream Saturday night. I'm not sure. I'll see what I can do. Anyhow, let's get into the news. We're going to start with the Arizona indictment. We'll move along from there. What I got for you? Arizona grand jury indicts Meadows, Giuliani, other Trump allies for the 2020 election interference. Election interference. The former president is listed as an unindicted co-conspirator. I guess this way they're trying to basically make it as if it's not about Trump, even though, frankly, when they're naming all these folks, you have to ask yourself, like, it's 4 years later. I mean, it's literally 3.5 years later at the very least from all these actions. It's very strange how it is that they're dropping all these indictments now. You tend to think that the ones against Trump are being dropped to sort of distract him from being able to run. I think this is designed to chill people from supporting him. But let's look at what they got going on here in Arizona. An Arizona grand jury has indicted 18 allies of Donald Trump for their efforts to subvert the 2020 election, including former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Attorney Rudy Giuliani, and Boris Epshteyn. The indictment, which includes felony counts of conspiracy, fraud, and forgery, also describes Trump as an unindicted co-conspirator. Defendants and unindicted co-conspirators scheme to prevent the lawful transfer of the presidency to keep unindicted co-conspirator number one in office against the will of Arizona voters. See, they're constantly glomming and sort of morphing back and forth between federal law and state law. It's a very, very strange thing how this has become so rampant. And that's what we see, I guess, from the fact that the Georgia indictment has allowed to progress as far as it has, is that states start feeling like, hey, yeah, we can really weigh in on this federal election thing a lot more than perhaps anyone thought possible. And to me, it seems ridiculous that such a thing is allowed. Let's start looking at the indictment. So the defendants named here in the state of Arizona versus Kelly Ward, Tyler Boyer, Nancy Cottle, Jacob Hoffman, Anthony Kern, James Lamont, Robert Montgomery, Samuel Moorhead, Lorraine Pellegrino, Gregory Safston, Michael Ward. Well, a bunch of people blotted out. I don't know why they're blotted out. This is a little strange. All right, well, let's see what we got. Why is it that they're blotted out when everyone knows that Giuliani is named? I don't know. But from on or about November 3rd, 2020, and continuing through on or about January 6th, 2021, those individuals with or intent to promote or aid commission of offense agreed with one and or more persons known and unknown that at least one of them or another person would engage in conduct constituting one or more of the following offenses in particular. It sounds as if this is going to be about fraudulent electors. That's what this sounds like. And their co-conspirators did commit one or more of the following overt acts, including but not limited to overt acts described in counts 2 through 9, section 2 of this indictment, which incorporated herein by reference as set forth in full in violation of ARS. Fraudulent schemes in count 2 is fraudulent schemes and artifices, a class 2 felony. Again, this is going from November 3rd to January 6th, 2021. This sounds like a fraudulent elector, a fake elector's charge. Again, I'm learning the news right here with you as I'm going through this. Pursuant to the scheme or artifice to fraud, knowingly obtain any benefit by means of false or fraudulent pretenses, representations, promises, or material omissions, to wit, prevent the lawful transfer of the presidency of the United States, keeping President Donald J. Trump in office against the will of Arizona voters, and depriving Arizona voters of the right to vote and have their votes counted on the United States Constitution, Arizona Constitution, Article 7. This is so stupid. This is so ridiculous. This is so aggravating. This is so aggravating. All right, I shouldn't prejudge. Maybe I'm prejudging. No one likes a prejudger. I'll try not to prejudge. Thank you. You're the best cult, not cult host ever. Thank you. Yeah, that's fair. I'm not at all a cult type of cult host. That's true. Every Biden voter should be indicted for election interference. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm having the exact same thought as Sherry. It's like, so what does this mean? Does this mean that like anyone who's in a state that voted against what our state voted for now all of a sudden becomes can be named as an unindicted co-conspirator or a conspirator in this to try and get the wrong guy in office? This is so stupid. When is higher court going to stop this garbage? When are lawyers going to step up and protect their profession? I'm trying to protect my profession. I'm doing what I can. I'm not going to kid you. I don't know. I feel like I'm on an island. Not from you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are phenomenal. I don't understand the lack of coverage. It's very weird to me. All these people always standing up screaming about how things need to be done and how terrible things are going on in the Republic. None of them seem to want to talk to me. It's very, very aggravating. I don't understand it. Bella! Hope you had a great Passover joke. Glad you're back. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you back here also. Does everyone not cult get free 7-Eleven coffee? This is not 7-Eleven coffee. During Passover, I'm using alternate types of stimulants. I'm forced to use alternate stimulants because you would not believe how many wheat products or grain products are in everything I use on my day-to-day basis, from my regular vapes, which I can't use, and I got this kosher for Passover vapes, this is actually surprisingly effective, to coffee, to everything. You'd be surprised. I'm not going to bore you with the detail about it, but trust me, there's a lot of work involved in getting stimulants into my bloodstream that are not going to be violative of my religious order. Count 3 says from on or about November 3rd, 2020, continuing through on or about January 6th, in matter related to business conducted by any department or agency of the state or any political subdivision thereof, pursuant to a scheme or artifice or fraud. This sounds like the same thing. I mean, it's obviously a different statute that they're listing here. That they knowingly falsify, conceal, or cover up material fact by any trick, scheme, or device, or made or used false writing or document, knowing such writing or document contained any false, fictitious, fraudulent statement. Like I said, this is the fake electors thing. That's what they're coming after them for. And that's what they're going to go after them for forgery also. From November 3rd till January 6th, falsely make, complete, or alter a written instrument. And again, here's the thing, just speaking objectively here, trying to look at this, I'm gonna try and step out of normal box here and just look at this as if I just landed in this country 10 minutes ago, okay? And I have no horse in this race. now you tell me what happened with this whole alternate slate of electors that happened in Arizona that everyone's calling fake electors. I would tell you this. When you're talking about fraud, the reason I've had issues with this claim of fraud is that fraud implies an intent to deceive. When it's nationally publicized what these guys are doing, I have a difficult time understanding how that could ever be classified as fraud. Fraud implies that you're duping someone, tricking them. They even say by trick or artifice here, by material fact, by any trick, scheme, or device. It's not, the idea is you're supposed to be tricking Congress so that they don't know what's happening here. It's very difficult to accept that that's what happened in Arizona or Michigan or in Georgia or in any of these states, that there was an objective to trick Congress. Over and over again, we saw that there were concerns that if the results of these elections would be overturned after the safe harbor day being the day that the electors had to send it in by this date, otherwise they don't count. Right? That's what we referred to back in 2020 when we were dealing with this. You might have forgotten the term. The term we used was safe harbor day. That you have to get it in by safe harbor day. Otherwise, even if your guy won, the electoral votes won't be counted because it's too late. So we had this whole debate as to, who won and the issues as to whether or not the count was accurate. And there was issues with each of these states, each of these 6 states had their own different problems that were ongoing there, which to the minds of many people still are not fully resolved. But the idea was, if it gets resolved in timely fashion before January 6, 2021, and it's resolved in favor of Donald Trump, that if you don't meet safe harbor day, then he's out of luck and you're not going to get those electoral votes. So it's a matter of saying that when in many of these states, and I can't speak to Arizona specifically, many of these states, they specifically put in writing, if in fact it's determined that that he won before January 6th, that these ballots should count for him, and thereby we're sort of checking off this box and getting this done for him. That's not even an attempt to defraud. That's simply trying to comply with statutory deadlines, which themselves are somewhat archaic, but you can understand were at one point certainly necessary and still on the books as being valid law that has to be complied with if you want your candidate to get your state's electoral votes. So in that sense, there's no attempt to deceive anyone. And that's what's so aggravating to those of us who are seeing these charges getting dropped against these alternate electors, that this was never about let's trick Congress. They're not going to know what happened here. They're going to be all confused. That's the goal. We're going to confuse Congress. They're never going to know anything about the whole Democratic ballot, those electoral ballots. They're never going to know anything about that. I mean, how ridiculous does that even sound? Count 4 is forgery, a class 4 felony. Same thing. Count 5, forgery, class 4 felony from on or about. What they do, continue through on or about January 6th. They falsely make, complete, or alter a written instrument or offer presented, whether accepted or not, a forged instrument. Now, if they stamped the governor's seal on it, that would be forgery. That could theoretically be forgery. I don't know. You can start to understand where they're coming from, at least. Count 6 from on or about November 3rd, 2020, continue through on or about January 6th. That they falsely make, complete, alter an instrument and or offer presented, whether accept or not, forged instrument, or one that contained false information, to wit, the second or 2 certificates of votes for President Donald J. Trump and Vice President Michael Pence filed by the Arizona Republican electors with the Arizona Secretary of State, involving, but not limited to, acts described in Section 2. Count 7, and it goes on and on. Can we get to your facts as far as what facts you're alleging happened here? Because I'm a little, there we go. Conspiracy and scheme. I'm getting a little tired reading through the same, statutes. I'm not pulling up the statutes here for you because it's going to be a waste of everyone's time. In Arizona, United States, people elected Joseph Biden as president November 3rd, 2020, allegedly. Unwilling to accept this fact, Still to this day, defendants and unindicted co-conspirators scheme to prevent the lawful transfer of the presidency to keep unindicted co-conspirator 1 in office against the will of Arizona voters. You see, this is why it's so stupid. If it's only to prevent the lawful transfer, what if it was Obama? And what if this happened in 2016? All right, whatever. Let's say Biden had won, and now they thought Trump had won. So would you not have the whole transfer of power element to it? Like the whole transfer of power element is such hullabaloo. It's hullabaloo. There's no other word for it other than hullabaloo. Because if Biden was in office and they said that Trump won and they did this, it would still be the same charges. There would be no transfer of power. It would be an attempt to get a transfer of power. This is, all right, whatever. After the general election, November 3rd, 2020, defendants raised false claims of widespread election fraud in Arizona to pressure election officials to change the outcome of the Democratic election. You see, this right here is, at a time, you see, this is what's so aggravating, so bloody aggravating. So you're saying because we won on this fight, that means that you raising a fight now becomes a crime. This is what we are seeing more and more and more happen today. And I'm seeing this right here. I'll tell you right this, I'm seeing this on a personal level. People are saying, I've been reading online, social media, people saying I should be sanctioned for raising constitutional questions about the gag on Trump. Now, am I likely to win in this fight here to get the gag overturned? Objectively, no, I'm not. Certainly, especially if I'm, all these cohorts and no one's willing to step into the fray here with me, it becomes that much less likely that I'm going to win. But I didn't come in here looking to say, I'm hoping to win, but this is not a fight that it's like, if I win, that means that it's the right thing. And if I lose, that means that I'm doing something objectionable. I am trying to ensure that our Constitution is being held to the proper standards. That's why I'm doing this. And that it's not chipped away at, especially when it comes to our fundamental core freedoms like our First Amendment rights. So that is my objective here. And the idea that some of these crazy folks have that I should be sanctioned, assuming I lose, should be dismissed, and I should be sanctioned. So if I win, I don't think anyone would think I should be sanctioned. But as soon as I lose, that means I should be sanctioned. What the hell kind of country do you guys think you want to run here? What kind of stupid country are you looking to turn America into? Where it's like you either win or you lose and your head gets lopped off. It's like that's a healthy democratic republic right there. Very, very healthy democratic republic you're all advocating for. I'm not talking about you, my viewing audience. I know you're not the one saying that. I'm simply saying it's like they're so single-minded in their zest for maintaining power and control that it's like anyone who raises an issue with the legality of the way things are being conducted should be punished for raising the question. You talk about Big Brother. This is like a new level of Big Brother America's never seen before. Now, again, I'm not calling that fascistic. Because I'm very loath to use that term. But that's chilling as far as that you even would think such a thing, much less suggest it out loud and believe it in your heart and then suggest it out loud or advocate for it. You're out of your friggin' mind. You're an idiot. If that's your perspective as to how you have a healthy country, that this should never be questioned. Never be questioned. So dumb. It's like I'm so frustrated with the idiocy of some of these folks. Bella Stella hitting with 10. Good Lawgic memberships. I should check out who you hit before I go forward. If I don't do it now, I'm gonna miss them. I'm gonna miss these folks. Good Lawgic membership. Oh, God, why is my audio so terrible? My audio is terrible. I don't see who she gifted. I don't know why I don't see it. I'm too late on the jump. I'm sorry. I need to change my audio. I'm not happy with my audio quality at all. Where's my output? Where's my mic here? Where's my settings? Audio. What's my mic? Let's try this. See if that's any better. I want to hear that. I want to hear if that's any better. I want to hear that. I want to hear if that's any better. No. I want to hear that. I want to hear if that's any better. Now I'm going to hear that echo. Oh, I want to hear that. I want to hear if that's any better. Now I'm going to hear that echo. I don't know. I don't like the sound quality at all. At all. At all. Very, very not pleased with this. I don't know. Checking out my Rumble ghetto here, making sure you guys are okay. All right. Master Phillips says, Super Chat grants the recipient one night pass to indiscriminately crap on my local Arizona bureaucrats without context. Welcome back. Does everyone we got that? Welcome to America, Joe. I hope you're here legally. Why? If I was here illegally, I'd get a lot more rights. Welcome back, QQ. If Dems won so easily in 2020, why try so hard to block Trump? Also, undocumented illegals can't vote for POTUS, but count for electoral votes so they get the votes by default. Apparently, it's one of the things that are very disconcerting. All right, let's go forward here. Those efforts failed when the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Secretary of State, Governor certified election. Republican presidential elected defendants then voted for presidential Donald Trump and Michael Pence on December 14th. Falsely claimed to be duly elected and qualified electors for president. Defendants deceived the citizens of Arizona. How did this, by falsely claiming that those votes were contingent only on legal challenge that would change the outcome of the election? How's that deceiving the citizens of Arizona? If anything, it would be deceiving the federal government. Defendants intended that the false votes by Trump-Pence would encourage Pence to reject the Biden-Harris votes. Okay. When combined with the 6 other states where Republican electors sent in uncertified votes for Trump-Pence, defendants wanted Pence to either declare unindicted co-conspirator won the winner election, delay the proceeding, and have individual state legislatures determine electors, or have Congress resolve any claimed uncertainty about the validity of election results. This scheme failed when Michael Pence accepted all certified Biden votes, Harris votes on January 6th. Okay. Was that an illegal thing for him to do? Let's say he had legally done it. Let's say it was the law that he was allowed to do that. Defendants see the public by arguing the scheme to have Republican electors vote for Trump, Pence, and Arizona 6 other states was legal. Thus, background on presidential election laws is necessary to understand this scheme. Okay, let's hear your background. I want to hear your background on this because I'm very curious about that. Presidential elections happen on the first Tuesday of November. Thank you. Following the first Monday every 4 years. In 2020, it fell on November 3rd. Trump ran for re-election with then Vice President Pence, again now President, against Biden and Harris. Popular vote does not determine, we know that. Instead, we got constitutional electors, electoral college, each state in D.C. gets their own electoral votes, and entire alignment of presidential electors, the person who won the popular vote in that state. Okay, the Electoral Count Act of 1887, which is in place in 2020, provides the procedure for selecting the president. Electoral College. Electoral College first required that each state determine the presidential electors at least 6 days before the electors vote. Determination is called Certificate of Ascertainment. It must be issued by the executive officer of each state. Under the ECA, each state's presidential electors meet and vote on the first Monday after the second Wednesday in December. First Monday after the second one. Okay, in 2020, that was December 14th. This also meant that the last day for certificate of ascertainment was December 8th. Okay, that's kind of brutal. Electors must send their certificates of their votes along with the certificate of ascertainment as follows. 1 copy to the President and Senate, 2 copies to the Chief Electoral Officer of their state, 2 copies to the Archivist of the U.S., and 1 copy to the Chief Judge of the Federal District Court where the electors assembled. ECA then provided the Vice President, sitting as the President of the Senate, hold a joint session of Congress on January 6 following the election. At that joint session, the Vice President was directed to open the presidential elector votes in alphabetical order by states so the votes can be counted. Arizona has 9 congressional seats and 2 senators, so it has 11 votes. Each political party selects its own presidential electors. The state law provides that Arizona's presidential electors are awarded based on the winner of the popular vote in Arizona. The law provides that presidential electors cannot vote for anyone other than the certified winner of the election. Well, that's not true. That's not true. Is that true in Arizona? Because there's a whole faithless elector thing. We kept hearing about the faithless electors. In 2016, we kept hearing about the faithless electors. Didn't we hear about the faithless electors? Don't you remember 2016? They were saying, hey, just because you're an elector, Trump is a danger. Don't vote for him, even though your state voted for him. Don't you all remember that? The faithless electors? Where do you come up with this? And we saw faithless electors. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. Arizona law first requires the counties count the votes in respective counties following the election. Determine the vote count is called a canvass. Once complete, the county board of supervisors must certify the canvass and report. Okay, on November 30th, the Arizona Secretary of State certified Biden Harris under very, very, very unusual circumstances. Same day, Governor Ducey issued a certificate of ascertainment listing Biden Harris electors as their presidential electors, and that's how they managed to get Arizona's votes. The following defendants were selected as Arizona Republican Party presidential electors. They named these defendants. That's why they got named in here. These people you never heard of before. They were the 11 GOP electors. Defendants' attempts to declare Trump and Pence the winners of the 2020 presidential election, contrary to voter intent and the law, involved numerous other charged and uncharged co-conspirators. Following is a brief summary of the remaining defendants in the scheme to keep Trump in office against the willing voters. This guy is an attorney for unindicted co-conspirator who is often indicted as the mayor. Let's keep the name blocked out. We have to keep this blacked out so no one knows who we're talking about here. Okay, so this is the one so there's one, we can't figure out who this is, but there's one we're just going to call the mayor. And he spread claims of election fraud in Arizona. Shortly after November 3rd, he presided over a hearing in downtown Phoenix where he falsely claimed that Arizona's election officials had made no effort to find out if the results. I don't know if that's false. Is that really false? I don't think that's false. How much effort did they make? There was all sorts of issues. The interesting thing is, I remember there actually being findings recently that there were all sorts of problems with the Arizona election. One of you will sure can find it for me. That there was in the last, I want to say in 2024, at some point, there was a finding that what happened in Arizona specifically was completely messed up. And if it had been timely called to the attention of the court, it likely would have changed everything. I don't remember where I saw that. Do you guys know what I'm talking about here? Let me check my live chat. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? You have heard all of them? All right. Tyler Boyle works for Kirk. Kelly Ward is very well known. That's possible. That's possible that I haven't heard of them. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying I haven't heard of them. All right. Let me see if anything here. That's interesting. That's really weird. Do you know that? Whoa. Hold Let's hit this over you. Joe, you're a true patriot. You use the legal skills. You work your ass off to file your amicus brief with no expectation of monetary reward. P.S. The Home Depot box my hat was shipped per is truly a collector's item. Hey, you got it. I'm glad you got it. I'm so happy. Finally. I'm so happy for you. I still need to get Janelle's out. I didn't get Janelle's out yet. I still owe her a hat. I'm glad you got yours. All right. So we got the mayor. We have another attorney here. I think this is probably Eastman. This looks like it's Jenna Ellis, but I'm not sure. Oh no, this is Jenna Ellis. She made false claims of widespread election fraud in Arizona and 6 other states, encouraged the Arizona legislature to change the outcome of the election. See, this is all a matter of let's punish anyone who spoke up against power. That's essentially what this is. That's essentially what this is. This is so gross. The director for election day operations and chief of staff is Mark Meadows. Then they have these other, so these are all, that was Mark Meadows' unindicted co-conspirator. These are all unindicted co-conspirators. See, this is what they're doing. This is, okay, I'm a little confused by this. So this article here is talking about these different, it says they indict Meadows, Giuliani, and other Trump allies. But now when we're describing them here in this case, it seems as if they're the mayor here, is he indicted? He's an attorney for unindicted. Well, they are being indicted. With the whole blackouts, it gets very confusing. So unindicted, who's not indicted? So Trump's not indicted. Former member of the Arizona legislature spread false claims is another unindicted. Former member of the Arizona legislature spread false claims. Number 3, who helped organize a hearing is not indicted. And the joint resolution. And you have an attorney for the Trump campaign who drafted memos that encourage having fake Republican electors. So that sounds like John Eastman. So he's not indicted. An attorney who worked for the Trump campaign helped organize the Arizona. It's so random as to who they decided to indict and who they didn't. Why didn't they indict Trump? I'm a little confused by that. Do they think it's too much flack if they indict Trump? All right. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to read through the rest of this BS. I'm not feeling it. This feels really long. Not going to kid you. My God. See, the problem with all this, this is designed to make sure that you never dare step against authority. And this lawfare is so damaging to our country. It's just one case after another. Let's try and punish the losers. That's essentially what it is. The people who did not win their legal battles and had the audacity to stand up to government, stand up through means that we're going to try now criminalize, so that anyone who tries to stand up in the future will recognize that if you take those lawful means, we will criminalize those lawful means and use that as a basis to punish you. And it's very, very aggravating. Yes, they did have him disbarred. At least that was a recommendation. I don't know if the court has yet approved it, but I think they did. This is just terrible. It's just terrible. Horn for Trump and don't eat the bugs. Yeah. Thanks so much. I appreciate what you've done. You're welcome, Christy. It's very, very aggravating. It's very, very aggravating. I can't, this stuff I'm telling you right now, I find it depressing. I find it depressing. But this is where our country is going. All right. I want to move on from this story because it's getting me aggravated. It's getting me very, very aggravated. All right. I want to try and catch up on what's going on in the Trump trial anyway. To me, it's more exciting. It's more exciting. This case is going to take a year to go on, and we'll see what happens with this case. I think a lot of these cases really depend on the outcome of the 2024 election. So even though if it's a state charge, it's difficult to see how Trump could pardon them from a state charge. That likely would not hold water, even if he were to win. So it's a question as to whether or not that would be of any benefit for people who are facing state charges. But for now, I think I want to move on from that. Debbie says, just tagged on Twitter with info from Liz Harrington on Arizona election evidence. All right, so you want me to check that out before I move on from this story? Let me see if I can check that out real fast. Because I do want to move on from this story, but let's see what you tag me on here. Let's see that. Here it is. This is what Debbie was sharing with me there. Maricopa County's own election records showed they unlawfully counted over 20,000 mail-in ballots received on November 4, 2020 and later. That's more than twice the election margin. And saying that their elections are rigged and they have to arrest you in order to keep their corrupt power. Wow. I knew there was something that happened in Arizona that was relatively recently discovered. Make this bigger. I don't think it's gonna make this bigger. I'll make myself smaller so you can see it bigger. This is MC inbound receipt of delivery. Post office inbound 36 times 518 quantity of pieces. I don't know. See, I don't know how. Figure 9, Maricopa County reported picking up 18,000 ballots from the USPS on November 4th. Note that 17,100 CTR designated ballots already in county custody are not late ballots. Maricopa, let me take myself down a little bit here. Maricopa County withheld requested public documents for nearly 7 months. These documents show 18,000 additional late ballots not previously reported. Several contests were decided by less than 20,000 votes, most notably the statewide presidential race that was decided by only 10,457. The 20,000 ballots recorded as incoming from the USPS on and after November 4th was sufficient quantity to change the result of the 2020 general election in Arizona. Wow. 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 Now, I cannot speak to Arizona law as to receipt of ballots after November 3rd. So I want to caution you about this. It is weird that all these ballots came in on November 4th when there's only 2,500 that came in on November 3rd. And, you know, during the full week leading up to November 3rd, at least the 5 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a total of 18,000 votes that came, 16, 17, this is 18,000, there's a total of 20,000 votes that came in 5 days. And then on November 4th, there's 18,000 ballots that come in here. So that's a little strange. But I cannot speak as to whether or not Arizona law allowed for, and I haven't researched this, and so that's one thing I want to caution you all, because a lot of times people get very excited about saying, aha, here's the smoking gun, and then we find out afterwards that the gun is not quite as smoking as we thought. So my initial thought is, I sort of want to check into Arizona law and find out whether or not A ballot which was postmarked by November 3rd and received after November 3rd is something that was legally accepted on November 4th. Because I know some states did have that dispensation. Most notably, I know Pennsylvania definitely had that. I think Georgia had that also. I don't know if Arizona had that. So that could, that's one thing that I just want to caution you about before you get too excited that this is a smoking gun. It may be a smoking gun. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I'd rather err on the side of not jumping to a gotcha moment before I know that that's the case. Let me do a quick check here and see if I can find anything here about Arizona 2020 post-election. But finding the law on this is going to be something that's going to be a pain in the neck for me to find out, and I don't think I can find it in like 60 seconds. And I don't want to spend 5 minutes of dead air here while I'm like researching this law, because I don't think that that's fair to you. So if any of you have a quick reference to that, that would be helpful. Joe, I put all the names here in the chat for you. Did you, Rhonda? You decided to help me, Rhonda. That's so nice. Yeah, help me, Rhonda. Let me see what you got. I was going to move on from this. Debbie dragged me back in. She dragged me. Yeah, I can't. The chat's moving too fast for me to pull that up. Depressed and demoralized is a feature, not a bug. We are winning! Don't let them make you believe there's no hope, because that is their only hope. And that's true. That's true. I tend to be a white pill, and I'll white pill it before I get out of here. Before I wrap up today, that's for sure. That's for sure. I'll definitely white pill it before I get out of here. I will pull this up for you. This is from that same tweet that Debbie shared. So, from Liz Harrington. And she had verityvote.us and shared this. She said, Maricopa County withheld requested public documents for nearly 7 months. These documents show 18,000 additional late ballots not previously reported. Several contests were decided by less than 20,000 votes, including the state presidential race, which was 10,457. The 20,000 ballots recorded coming in the USPS on or after November were sufficient quantity to change the result of the 2020 election. Oh, and they claim that Arizona law requires that all ballots be received by the county no later than 7 p.m. on election day in order for them to be counted and valid. Oh, so that's assuming that's accurate, which I don't have any reason to think it's inaccurate. So that right there, you would think that would be a basis for them to say that these charges could be dismissed. If I was their defense counsel, I'd certainly be looking into this. You guys want to have a whole case about whether or not our results in Arizona were accurate? All right, let's go. Let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. I'm going to include here this Verity Vote thing that I'm going to put in my description for this show, so you guys who all want to check this out can get better details on this. So this is about the Maricopa County, about the funky business going on in Maricopa County in the 2020 election. Verity Vote. I'm putting this in the description right now. Let me go back out in. Socially wrecked, hitting me with a $100 rant saying, keep up the great work. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much. I'm going to give you another one of those. Yeah. Yep, the war horn was a coming. The war horn came twice. Came twice. All right. I'm going to put a link to this in Rumble as well. Let me go back out here and edit that so you guys have it as well. Save. All right, so if you refresh on Rumble, you'll get it there as well. And just so that you guys in locals think I haven't forgotten you, I'm going to put it here. Those of you who want to pull it up. I'm not going to go through the whole Verity Vote thing right now, though. So, I do want to get into the Trump trial. To me, that's the exciting thing. I'll tell you this. I'm going to start with a little link here that was shared by Salty Cracker, who I highly recommend you guys check out. Dude is entertaining. He's smart and entertaining. So I'm a fan of Salty Cracker. I'm not going to kid you. I like a lot of his work. I don't know if I agree with everything he's ever said, but certainly I like a lot of his work. I'll credit him with this clip right here.
I think the whole world is watching this hoax. You got a DA that's out of control. You have a judge that's highly conflicted. The whole thing is a mess, and you have the leading candidate and leading crooked Joe Biden by a lot. He's the one that should be in trial. He's a crook. You got a crooked president. He should be in trial with all the stuff he's done and his family. He should be in trial.
Boom! Donald Bluff might have just caught a break in this bullshit.
All right, I didn't get to vet the rest of this, so I'm not gonna watch the rest of his. I'll share a link on locals over to this clip here. I made it like 10 seconds in, and apparently 27 seconds in, all of a sudden there was going to be a whole thing from Salty where he was going to break that down. But I don't want to steal his content, so I'm gonna pull that. I'm gonna pull that here. But if you want to watch the rest of that, I will incorporate a link to that. I do want to get to Adam Klasfeld here, who was breaking down yesterday the efforts to have him held in contempt for violating his gag order. And I haven't gone through this yet. Again, I'm covering the news with you. You'll see my reaction to it as I see it live. So Adam Klasfeld reporting, what have we done? This was yesterday, storming down yesterday, April 23rd. Here's his thread. He was talking about how they're going to start the day off by focusing on the exact language of the gag order, which I'm very familiar with this language, obviously. The current language of the gag order, which says that, and it's going to be parsed in molecular fashion during the morning session, and that defendants direct to refrain from making or directing others to make public statements about known or reasonably foreseeable witnesses concerning the potential participation in the investigation, and making and directing others to make public statements about counsel in the case other than the district attorney, members of the court staff, and the district attorney staff, and or family members of any counsel, staff member, or the court, or the district attorney. Trump has entered the courtroom, is now seated at the defense table, his back to his usual red tie. He flinches a bit at the moment the photojournalist pool sets up in front of him for daily photos. Session as usual is brief, and they're let out of the courtroom. All rise. Merchant enters and assumes the bench. Attorneys register their appearances. Merchant says, "Good morning, Mr. Trump." Per Ben Feuerher in the hallway press pool, Trump ignored questions about why he did not appeal his D.C. gag order, if he'll continue to post about the witnesses, what he would do to quell protests at college campuses, and if he thinks Michael Cohen is a sleazebag. Merchant, 2 matters have been called to the record. On April 15, prosecutors asked the court to sign an order to show cause on allegations that Trump violated the gag order on 3 occasions. April 18th, they did so again on 7 more alleged violations. ADA Christopher Conroy says the court found the types of extrajudicial statements Trump made pose a very real threat to the integrity of the proceedings. Very real threat. Obviously, these proceedings are now lacking integrity. Before this, it had great integrity, But now they're lacking in integrity. Yesterday, here in this building, right outside these doors, defendant violated the order again on camera. Conroy says prosecutors will be filing another application for an order to show cause on this violation later today. Prosecutor says Trump seems to think, quote, no one is off limits to this defendant, and he can attack and intimidate anyone he wants. Conroy says he's going through the violations one by one. Here's the first. Thank you to Michael Avenatti for revealing the truth about two sleazebags who have, with their lies and misrepresentations, cost our country dearly. And Michael Avenatti is talking about Cohen and Daniels. So I know that one of the issues that comes up here is a retweet a problem. He doesn't mention Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen directly. He's retweeting Michael Avenatti. Or quote tweeting is what we would call this. Because he's adding his own context. This is the second posted 5 days before jury selection. Look what you just found. Will the fake news report it? And that is the official statement of Stormy Daniels from January 30, 2018. And where she said, over the past few weeks, I've been asked countless times to comment reports of an alleged sexual relationship I had with Donald Trump many, many years ago. The fact of the matter is that each party's alleged affair denied its existence in 2006, 2011, 2016, 2017, and now in 2018. I'm not denying this affair because I was paid hush money, as has been reported in overseas owned tabloids. I'm denying this affair because it never happened. I will have no further comment on this matter. No further comment on this matter. Please feel free to check me out on Instagram. It gives her Instagram handle. Well, that's interesting. Interesting. All right. I think I'd seen that before. This is the third. Here, again, Judge Michael Cohen is reasonably forced. That's really intimidating. You can see how this is obviously destroying the integrity that he posted this. Destroying the integrity. This is the third. Here again, Judge Michael Cohen is reasonably foreseeable witness. This again going after Michael Cohen's credibility, which is a recurring theme in these posts. Has Mark Pomerantz been prosecuted for his terrible acts in and out of DA's office? His disgraced attorney and felon Michael Cohen been prosecuted for lying. Only Trump people get prosecuted by his judge, and these thugs, a dark day for our country in MAGA 2024. He's going to have a tough time saying that it wasn't a violation of the gag order. Fourth, NYP called Cohen a serial perjurer. Serial perjurer will try to prove an old misdemeanor against Trump and an embarrassment for the New York legal system. Well, this one doesn't even mention anyone by name. Who knows who the serial perjurer is? It's speculation by the Post. This one seems to me to be the least directly violating the gag. I'm not a judge, but to me this reads as being the least directly violating it. Next, same Post article amplified by Trump's campaign. In case you missed this, serial perjurer will try to prove an old misdemeanor against Trump, an embarrassment for the New York legal system. See, this is the idea that he can be punished for this is so aggravating. It's so aggravating. What the heck is happening here? He's retweeting a newspaper article. So if he says it, all of a sudden, oh gosh, this feels so unconstitutional. There are two more alleged violations sharing the same news articles. Again, one with "in case you missed it" or "ICYMI," which I guess could mean I can't make. I can't. You. It could be "icy me." It could be just "icy me." That's what it's trying to say. "Icy Mississippi." MI is Mississippi? No, it's not. It's not Missouri. That's MO. Michigan? "Icy Michigan." Maybe it is "icy Michigan." Michigan could be kind of icy. So maybe that's what this means, "icy Michigan." This one, the ninth on the show cause motion, screenshots are an article in full going after Michael Cohen. That's not him saying anything. The only one here where he actually really seems to say something specifically is this one. This one seems like he's actually saying something of his own. All right. Conroy calls this post particularly disturbing, knowing that Trump added to the quote, Waters didn't initially say to get on the Trump jury. That was Trump's embellishment. Waters didn't... What? That was Trump's embellishment. That was last Wednesday evening that was going on, Conroy says. Oh, he was quoting Jesse Waters, or he claimed to be quoting Jesse Waters, saying they're catching undercover liberal activists lying to the judge in order to get on the Trump jury. If they're lying to the judge, if the liberal activists lying to the judge, what is their objective? I mean, come on. What the heck are we trying to parse here? This is just this is unbelievable. This is shameless. This is just shameless. Unbelievable. No, they're lying to the judge for other reasons, because they're just in the mood to see how well they can deceive a sitting judge, but not because they want to get on the Trump jury. Of course not. Hey, Joe. That's the new $20 one. Hope you're doing well. I spoke with Van and Lou. They're both interested. Not sure if they reached out yet, but I'm excited to see the collaboration. I have not heard from them at all. I've gotten your notifications. I am happy to talk about my... I'm happy to talk about my application that's pending before the first department with virtually anyone. Certainly anyone who I can be confident that it's going to have 100 views. Okay? I want to just, I don't have much time, which in general, I'm happy to talk to anyone who's got 5 views. I don't care. I'm not like one of these people who's like, oh, I'm only going to go to show if it has. But I know that I'm limited in my time because I got Passover eating up a lot, very aggressively eating up my work schedule. And I have to be, I'm going to be, just so you can appreciate just how aggressively it's eating up my work schedule. I'm going to have family Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and coming back on Wednesday. So I'm going to be here tomorrow. I might pop in Layback Law from being on the road on Friday. I'm not sure. Might do a Saturday night stream. Don't know. But I'm definitely going to go on Sunday night. Definitely go on Monday night. Don't really expect to be around Tuesday night. I'm flying back in early Wednesday. So I don't know when I'm going to have time. I really don't know when I'm going to have time. These people have to come to me soon, because when I get back here Wednesday, I'm preparing my reply. I'm expecting to see opposition from the Assistant District Attorney's office and from the Office of Court Administration, and I'm going to have to be working on my reply to them. So those of you who are interested in talking to me, I would love to talk to you. I have very limited time. Let's try to spit spot this. Let's try to get this thing moving. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But I appreciate your effort. I'm not. That's not a complaint against you at all. I'm just telling you, I'm happy to talk. Just got very limited time, so I'm hoping these people can jump in quick. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you, Bella. Thank you. That's one possible interpretation. It could be icy Michigan. All right. Next day, Conroy noted a juror wound up getting cold feet because of the fear of disclosure of personal information. Quote, we ended up losing a juror. So you got a different juror. That's exactly what the Supreme Court says, that you can find alternate jurors. The gag order is not allowed to be preventing that. That's exactly what you can't have a prior restraint of speech. Oh my God, this is so aggravating. Do I need to pull up Nebraska Association which says, hey, if there's alternatives like finding another juror, that's okay. That's better than gagging him. This is unbelievable. I gotta save this. I have to say this for myself because this is exactly everything wrong. This is everything wrong with this gag in a nutshell. I'm making a note to myself to save this for my reply. Because the Supreme Court has said if you lose a juror, who cares? That's better than gagging him. This guy right here. This guy right here. This guy right here. Gifting 20 good Lawgic memberships. God bless you. God bless you. You're awesome. Let me see if I can find them. Following people gifted memberships courtesy of Master Phillips. Jordan 801, Sidoan, Kevin and ABQ, Dust in the Wind. Dust in the Wind. Dave Umbarger, Annette Price, Debbie Prescott, Aruba Gal. Aruba, Jamaica. James Chansey, Brianna Marshall, Amberton Square, James Kirk, Shembri 317, Rebecca Glasgow, Justin McCullough, Eric Nelson, Jason Datata, Poker A 6666, Amy Nola, Gypsy Soul, all of you gifted memberships courtesy of Master Phillips. God bless you, Master Phillips. In case you just became a member of the following, and you're like, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? I know the show's called the Following Program. What does that mean? I'm a member of the following. Does that mean I have to I'm in some sort of cult now or something like that? Does that mean that Joe is my leader? No. I am not the leader of the following. I am a host. Just a host. I'm a lowly host. I'm nothing. I'm just a host here. Just a host. I'm not the leader. Very much not the leader of the following. The following is also not at all a cult type of cult. It's not at all a cult type of cult. There's no spaceships, no Kool-Aid, no self-harm, no harming others, no stabbing yourself with a jabby jab, no dancing around bonfires while shedding off clothing while someone beats on the tom-tom with a steady beat. No goat sacrifices, no squirrel mutilations, no throwing virgins into volcanoes, no smearing blood on the walls, no hacking through doors and screaming, "Here's Johnny." None of that. It's not at all a cult type of cult. So, welcome to the following, those of you who joined recently. And I also have to call out here Socially Wrecked, hitting with another 100, saying, "Hey Joe, an amazing news aggregator about what's happening around the U.S. and the Trump. Think about following at Trooper, the Daily Sneed on X, at TROOPERR. I think it's 00 instead of that 00. Let me see what you got here. Let me do it like this. Let me just hide this here. At Trooper, let me check up on X what we got here. At TROOPER. Daily Sneed. I see him right here. All right. In case you're wondering who he's talking about here, this is the man, Daily Sneed. Daily Sneed is the one who he's recommending, and I'm going to take your recommendation right there. Just follow him. Boom. Okay. And thank you. I appreciate people calling out good folks for me to check out. Got that. It's so one-sided. You think, Brian? You think it's so one-sided? I know that. We all know that. It feels so one-sided. It's wrong. All right, let's go further here into this hearing. All right, Conroy, there's no doubt that the defendant made these statements. He adds that Trump's addition to the water statement goes to the former president's willfulness. Willfulness? Does that go to the willfulness? Conroy, all of the posts here are made concerning the criminal proceeding. It's just very clear that they were linked to this case. Conroy disputing the notion Trump is simply engaging in political speech. Quote, throwing a MAGA into post doesn't make it political. It may make it more ominous. Everyone knows about Ultra MAGA, how dangerous we are. Purportedly, I don't mean that seriously. I was being facetious with that. Those of you who are new to the show. Conroy confronts Trump's defense that he's just responding to attacks by Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. The appellate division informed him otherwise. Prosecutor notes he knows he's forbidden. That's what the order says. There's no provision in this order for responding to attacks, which is another problem with the order. Frankly, that's another problem with why the order is so unconstitutional, because that's kind of the whole Sixth Amendment issue right there. Conroy, his logic is someone not covered by the order says something mean, then he can attack them. That's the First Amendment! That's not even covered by the order! That view is tortured at best. Tortured at best. The Constitution is being tortured at best. It would eviscerate the clear meaning of this order if this court would adopt that, the prosecutor adds. There's so much here which just underscores just how unconstitutional this order is. Trump is violating the crystal clear, unequivocal lines of the court's gag order. He pivots to the argument that the reposts are in his statements. That flies in the case, probably means in the face of common sense. Probably meant that. Conroy, we're not yet seeking an incarceratory penalty. Defendant seems to be angling for that. Up next, Trump's lead attorney, Todd Blanche. Quote, just to set the record very straight and clear, Trump does know what the gag order allows him to do and not do. He claims that there's been no violation. He says there's no dispute that Trump's facing a barrage of attacks from all corners, particularly from Cohen and Stormy Daniels. Trump's comments back to them were not about their testimony. So if we look back at what it was, he can't talk about their testimony. He doesn't talk about their testimony. It's a fair counterpoint. Saying that they're liars is not about their testimony. It just says they're convicted perjurers. It's about their character, not about what they're going to talk about. Michael Cohen directly responds to this comment by Mr. Avenatti politically. The judge asks him for a citation. He responds that that it's in the defense papers referring to one of Cohen's posts about the Orange Menace. He's allowed to respond to political attacks, Your Honor. Justice Merchant corrects the chronology. Trump's post preceded Cohen's, he said. Merchant presses Blanche. What about Cohen's post makes it a political attack? Blanche replies that's the reference to a pardon. Merchant skeptically, quote, you believe that everything that Mr. Avenatti says does not relate to the trial, but the use of the word pardon makes it political and authorizes your client to respond? It's so hard to figure out what they deem to be political and what's not political. Because at what point does what part of this is not political that you're trying to parse out and saying that this doesn't qualify as being political, but then it does rise? So if you're talking about presidential pardons, that's the only thing that makes it political? If you talk about there being corruption in this entire process, that's not a political? This is so aggravating. Merchant, when your client is violating the gag order, I expect you to have more than one word, i.e. pardon, as a justification. I guess he's coming to the conclusion that there was a violation of the order. That's if he's violating the order. But if he's not, because he's not talking about the testimony, then he's not violating the order. And there you go. Blanche denies that Trump violated the gag order. The judge says he hasn't yet made that finding. Blanche, Cohen and Daniels have ramped up their political attacks. The judge calls the timing confused, knowing that Trump waited until an appellate battle before posting attacks and posts from days earlier. Blanche with the quote of the day so far. President Trump truths repeatedly all day, virtually 7 days a week, Your Honor. That's true. He sent out 3 posts since I started making this. He sent out 3 truths since I started this legal argument in front of you, Your Honor. It's true. He's always on there. Blanche on repeated attacks from Daniels, including through her documentary. He's running for president. He has to respond to that. Blanche angers the judge with this question. Your Honor says the timing matters. Why? Merchant snaps. I'm asking the questions. Telling Blanche he shouldn't turn it around. I have to tread very carefully here. I personally must tread very carefully in some of my thoughts that are going through my head here. Blanche positions Trump's attacks against Cohen as a broader swipe at the justice system. Quote, it's attacking the people and the system for not prosecuting Mr. Cohen for lying. He says Trump's criticizing the 2 systems of justice in this courtroom. Yeah. Yeah. That line doesn't seem to sit well with Justice Merchant. Why does everyone keep calling them justices? Not justices, they're judges. There's two systems of justice in this courtroom. That's what you're saying? He asked, bristling. Blanche puts the sentiment in his client's mouth and the exchange moves on. All right. So what Blanche is basically saying is like, I'm not saying that, Your Honor. That's what Trump is saying. You're asking whether there's two systems of justice in this courtroom. It's his opinion that there is. I'm an attorney. I'm not saying that. I'm an attorney admitted to practice law in the state of New York. I'm not saying that. That's what Trump is saying. It's a good argument. It's a good argument. Justice Merchant says that suggests because the people of the court do not take action for every single violation of the gag order is waived. I'm not sure how he gets that reading. Oh, see, that's not what we're saying. Why would you say that? No, he's saying that when Trump is saying that, he's saying Cohen is not being held to the same standards he's being held to. And that's why he's calling it two systems of justice. Not that a failure to press the gag one time suddenly changes everything here. I'm not sure where Judge Merchant is coming up with that. The judge says that is what the defense is saying. Okay. It's not making a mockery of the gag order, Your Honor. It's a close call. Blanche says that reposting an article from a news site or a news program doesn't violate the gag order. Blanche says that reposting an article from a news site or news program doesn't violate the gag order. Justice Merchant asks him whether case law supports that. I don't have any case law, Blanche says, calling the proposition common sense. I think Blanche is doing a good job arguing this here. The judge scoffs at the notion that it's common sense that Trump is washing his hands of the post through reposts. Well, I mean, it's sort of like, what's the reason that he's being silenced here? Is it because of the size of his megaphone, or is it because he's directing people to do something? That's what, if the New York Post is putting it out there and he retweets a New York Post article, I don't understand. Like, that means he's now saying, go get this guy? Like, I don't understand what's happening here. I don't understand what is happening. I'm very confused. I'm just very confused. But Merchant asks Blanche if he's testifying for his client. Blanche responds, he's not testifying, he's making arguments. Wow. Merchant notes Trump's adding words at the end of Jesse Waters' post. Quote, your client manipulated what he said and put in quotes, correct? Blanche says he wouldn't use the word manipulated, but he ultimately concedes number 10 is not a repost. Agreed. It's not like it doesn't feel like he changed what Jesse Waters said, assuming that the only part that he added was to get on the Trump jury. Doesn't sound like that's a crazy, like, you shouldn't put quotes around it. Because that's, but at the same time, I don't know that that makes it inaccurate. I also don't know that this is talking about when there's you can't talk about jurors. You're talking about maybe these aren't even jurors. These are potential jurors. I mean, people are trying to do it. Doesn't mean that they're on the jury. He's not allowed. He's barred from talking about jurors. He's saying they're catching undercover liberal actors lying, which implies that they're probably not getting on the jury. So he's not talking about jurors. I gotta scroll up. I want to see if this. I want to check that out. Was it about jurors also? This is over here around 4. Prospective juror, or any juror. So I guess that prospective juror would cover those folks. Okay. All right. So that's a fair critique as far as potentially technically violating the order, because that would be a prospective juror. Okay. Through these arguments, Blanche studiously uses truth as a verb for posting on Trump's social media platform. He's advertising for Trump. Blanche, President Trump is being very careful to comply with the gag order. Merchant sharply, Mr. Blanche, you are losing all credibility. That's pretty sharp response from the judge. Merchant says he's going to reserve decision on this after brutal arguments for the defense. For those unfamiliar, Judge reserving decision simply means he will issue his order at some later time, potentially even later in the day. That's true. That's well said, Adam. As Trump and his lawyers re-enter the courtroom, Blanche appears to look even more miserable than his client. Merchant returns to the bench. The attorney register their appearance again. The rest of the morning session kicks off. Good morning again. Before trial proceedings begin, the judge hands limiting instructions for the jury for attorneys for parties to review. At least one instruction involves Wall Street Journal news articles. All rise. Jury's entering. Judge clarifies. Next week's scheduled to the jury. Next Monday, we're not meeting at all, which that's Passover. Tuesday, we will be working all day. Also Passover. Like I said, Monday and Tuesday are both Passover next week. Ex-AMI Chief David Pecker is back on the stand, and his testimony continues. Are you personally familiar with Donald Trump? Yes. How long have you known him? Since the late 80s. Asked to identify Trump in the courtroom, he does. I have a great relationship with Mr. Trump over the years. He recounts his longtime business relationship starting with an idea for a magazine called Trump Style. So did you in fact launch Trump Style magazine? Yes. Pecker says Trump congratulated him on the purchase of the National Enquirer. Congratulations, you bought a great magazine. Testimony turns to The Apprentice. Pecker says Trump was always kind enough to send information about the show and its ratings to him. There was great mutually beneficial relationship, Pecker reflects. The audience of the National Enquirer and other celebrity magazines followed the show religiously. Trump was always kind enough to give him the information first. Pecker said he considered Trump a friend. I would call him Donald. Asked how often he saw Trump, Pecker responds maybe once a month or once or twice a quarter until 2015. Then, once Trump announced his run for presidency, Pecker says, I saw Trump more frequently, maybe once a month. They'd also speak by phone once every few weeks. Pecker says that they would primarily call each other via their offices, but they would speak via cell phones infrequently. Did you ever communicate with Mr. Trump through his bodyguard? Yes, I have. Bodyguard's name was Keith Schiller. Did you visit Trump at Trump Tower on multiple occasions over the years? Over the years, yes. Pecker says he described Trump as very knowledgeable, detailed, and almost a micromanager. Pecker says he met Michael Cohen at a bar mitzvah in the early 2000s. Who knew? Who knew that those are political gatherings? That's where you meet your influencers. There you go. Pecker also says his contract with Michael Cohen increased after Trump announced his candidacy. They would communicate a minimum of every week, and if there was an issue, it could be daily. Testimony turns to Hope Hicks. Hicks once worked for Ivanka Trump, Pecker notes. Assistant DA Joshua Steinglass shows the witness an exhibit privately at first. Pecker inspects the exhibit on the screen through his glasses. It's an email from Pecker to Cohen dated June 2nd, 2015. It's an invitation inviting him to a press announcement at Trump Tower. I walked into Trump Tower. Michael Cohen was waiting in the atrium. He recalls Trump and Melania coming down the escalator before Trump announced his candidacy. Pecker delivers blockbuster account of Trump Tower meeting with Trump and Cohen. Trump asked me what I could do in my magazine studio to help the campaign. Pecker said he could publish positive stories about Trump and negative stories about his opponents. Pecker also says he told Trump, "I would be your eyes and ears because I knew that the Trump organization has a very small staff. Anything I hear about yourself and anything negative that I hear about women selling stories, I would notify Michael Cohen." Heck, what happened? And he would be able to have him killed in another magazine. Is there more? Pecker mentioned the women selling stories line unprompted. 88 Steinglass pressed him on the line later. Pecker explains that at the time Trump was known as the most eligible bachelor. He didn't marry his third wife, Melania, until he married her in 2005. Pecker's testimony aligns snugly with what prosecutors promised the evidence would show during opening statements. How so? Trying to pierce Pecker's claim that the arrangement was mutually beneficial, Steinglass notes that the catch and kill of the alleged affairs didn't benefit AMI's magazines. The purpose of that component was to benefit the campaign. That's where I would object speculation. I would object to that in speculation. How does he know that's to benefit the campaign rather than to spare him harassment from his wife? Pecker says, or other things not related to The Apprentice. In general, it's not like... All right. There's a lot of thoughts I have on that. Because to me, I don't know how Pecker would... Just because it doesn't suit what Pecker's looking for, it doesn't mean it doesn't have anything to do with any other PR stuff that's going on in his life unrelated to the campaign. Because he seems to have cared about his PR for the last 40 years. Pecker says the agreement was never formalized. It was just an agreement among friends. He estimates that the meeting lasted between 20 and 25 minutes. Pecker says he told National Enquirer's then editor-in-chief Dylan Howard that the arrangement was highly, highly confidential. Pecker inspects another exhibit, Enquirer headlines praising Trump. Pecker inspects another exhibit, Enquirer headlines trashing Trump's rivals. Quote, "My conversations with Michael Cohen would call me and say, we would like you to write a negative article on, let's say, for the sake of argument, Ted Cruz, Pecker, or Ben Carson, and we would embellish it from there." He clarifies that we here is the National Enquirer. Pecker elaborates on Cohen's instructions on whom we would like the Enquirer to write a negative story about. Mike Cohen wasn't part of the campaign. I thought he was talking about himself and Mr. Trump. So it's not part of the campaign? As about his understanding of Cohen's relation to the campaign, Pecker says, he always told me he's not part of the campaign. Well, that doesn't help you. Really? That's pretty good for Trump. If he's not part of the campaign, in that case, he's the one dealing with Stormy Daniels. It's got nothing to do with the campaign. This is something that Trump's attorneys, you would think, would take note of. Didn't you tell Pecker you have nothing to do with the campaign? And seeing as how, Cohen is convicted perjurer, you told him he's not part of the campaign. Now you're getting up here and saying that the whole thing with Stormy Daniels was to help his campaign. What are you doing with this? If you're not part of the campaign and you were part of the Stormy Daniels thing, then clearly Stormy Daniels had nothing to do with the campaign. Aha! Pecker on the chain of command. I only would work with Michael, so I don't know who else he spoke to. National Enquirer's headline attacking Trump's rival, then raising the polls. Bungling surgeon Ben Carson left sponge in patient's brain. Another Enquirer headline, Ted Cruz shamed by porn star. Pecker says the Enquirer would send PDFs of stories before they ran to Cohen, who would give comments on them before publication. So none of this has to do with the campaign, then. Ask Cohen ever spoke about getting ideas or articles from the boss. Pecker demurs, I don't recollect that. More Enquirer headlines slamming Cruz. Ted Cruz sex scandal, 5 secret mistresses. Donald Trump blasts Ted Cruz's dad for photo with JFK assassin. Pecker gives the backstory of these from circa 2016. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love giving good logic, Melanie. God bless you. Really appreciate the generous super chat. Anna. Whoops. Wrong one. And it says, I've been keeping notes on various arguments, counterarguments to what the response was, like when you come up with a good response after an argument. I'll send it to you in case it's useful. The one you saved was one I had written down. Oh, that'd be very helpful. I appreciate you. Thank you, Anna. That's very, very helpful. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything going on over here. Because it's possible. I got to check on my ghetto. Check on my ghetto. I think I'm good. Oh, no, I did miss this. Rivka the Jade Gamer says, regarding the New York trial, my question is, did they really declare the predicate crime to be one that also fails to declare an illegal act, influencing an election through illegal action? I don't know. I'm still learning about this. I'm not going to kid you. I'm still learning about it. I've read stuff about that, but I don't know yet, Rivka. Like I said, I'm literally learning about what's happened, catching up here with you guys. So, so I can't answer that just yet. All right. More Inquirer headlines. Now slamming Marco Rubio. Shady lady who could ruin Marco Rubio. Rubio is rising in the polls of time. The prosecutor notes. Is that it? Is that it? I don't know what's happening. There should be more. It's so hard to keep track. I think that's it. Let's go back to Adam here. Let's see what you got from me, Adam. That was yesterday. And there's more going on today. 12 hours ago, that'd be 12 noon. Let's see what we got. It's so hard to find anything these days. So aggravating. I'm not blaming Adam for this. It's just... Surprise, surprise, Manhattan judge denies Trump's motion to compel a subpoena to Stormy Daniels about a documentary. All right, I'm gonna go over to Inner City Press. Maybe I'll have an easier time with that because I'm getting a little confused here. I'm getting a little confused by Adam Classwell's timeline here. Or maybe this is 12 hours ago? 12 hours ago. That would put it at noon today. But that was from April 23rd. What the heck is happening here? David, because this seems like it's continuing from what he was talking about, right? David Pecker testified Macron gave negative story as ideas for Cruz, Carson, Robert, and Rubio. Inside the catch and kill, $30,000 deal between Inquirer's corporate parent AMI and Dino Sajidin came into evidence, showing the Dormans payoff for information regarding Trump's illegitimate child. Pecker said they paid to quash the story, even knowing it was bogus. From Pecker's testimony, so why are you paying $30,000 for an untrue story? Because if the story gets out to another publication or another media outlet, it would have been very embarrassing to the campaign. So this was a way to lock it up. That's correct. You may have noticed that the screenshot of the AMA Sajidin agreement had a 3-month exclusivity period. That changed with an amendment to the agreement extending that period to in perpetuity, meaning forever. That means we own this story forever. AMI ultimately released Sajidin and Karen McDougal from their non-disclosure agreements after the 2016 election. An email dated December 9, 2016 shows AMI releasing Sajidin from the agreement. Reminder, Southern District of New York reached a non-prosecution agreement with AMI and campaign finance violations on the same day of Michael Cohen's 2018 sentencing. Terms of that agreement could explain why Pecker, Trump's longtime friend and business associate, has been so candid. So that agreement says, it is understood that if the government has determined that AMI has committed any crime after signing this agreement, or that AMI or its representatives have given false, incomplete, or misleading testimony or information, or that AMI has otherwise violated any provision of this agreement, all statements made by AMI's representatives to this office or other designated law enforcement agencies, and any testimony given by AMI, meaning Pecker, or its representatives before a grand jury or other tribunal, whether prior to or subsequent to the signing agreement, and any leads from such statements or testimony shall be admissible in evidence in any criminal proceeding brought against AMI. AMI shall assert no claim under the Constitution, any statute, Rule 410 of Federal Rules of Evidence, or any other federal rule that such statements or any leads therefrom should be suppressed. So basically, they have him under a gun. Okay. Is this part of his? Nope, not what I wanted. I'm gonna go over to Inner City Press. Maybe I'll have a better, easier time with him. So this seems like he's on a different case today. Was there no testimony today? Oh, you're very welcome. There ain't nothing wrong with... Thank you so much, Jenny, by the way. I appreciate you. You're awesome. Felix says, there ain't nothing wrong with what's being said. Evan just shows what all candidates and public figures do every day. Indict them all, starting with Slick Willie, Hillary Clinton. They don't cover up what the elite witnesses. Yeah, seriously. I mean, I don't know that that's what Hillary and Slick Willie do. I don't know. I can't know that for sure. There's no way I can know that for sure. A lot of people speculate that. There's a lot of people who come to that conclusion. I'm working in a whole different parameter these days. If convicted, will this make political ads illegal? It shouldn't. It shouldn't. As I think Felix properly points out, it doesn't sound like there's anything illegal going on here. The point they're trying to make is that this makes this all part of his political campaign, which is why he has to reflect his payments to her as being political donations. That's how the prosecution wants the jury to interpret this. This is a different case that he's dealing with here. Where's Inner City Press? So I'm taking it from this that there was no testimony today. That's what I'm getting from this. In the Trump trial. Is that correct? Is that right? Was there no trial today? Oh. Why is there no trial? I do agree with this. There's no trial on Wednesdays? Really? Well, that's helpful. Might have to rely on what we have. I might have to go with what I gave you so far. Let's end it at 2 p.m. End it at 2. See, I don't even know what hate speech is. I had a whole conversation with someone who's a classic liberal today, and I was like, hate speech is not even like, it's not even a real term. When one person calls hate speech, another person would say the boundaries is what's hate speech. Some people will call anything that someone says virtually hate speech. If you don't express undying love, that's hate speech. Let's see if I can get a thread here. It's so tricky finding stuff this way. Oh. See this? I was like, see, Klasfeld left this out. And again, I want to be clear here, okay? What Klasfeld and Inner City Press are trying to do, I know because I've tried doing this as well, is impossible. It is impossible to take down everything that's being said. Because imagine just trying to take down and share without actually sharing this video, but taking out everything I'm saying here right now and then sharing it out and making sure that you're catching every little bit of it. And especially when there's a dialogue between two people back and forth, you catch snippets and try to just sort of throw them out fast. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. So they're in the impossible task of trying to basically give the entire world perspective as to what's happening inside this courtroom, and doing their damnedest to try and give you a fair and full picture, knowing full well that it's impossible to do that. So this is not a critique of Klasfeld or of Matthew Lee of Inner City Press. They both, I believe, work as earnestly as possible to present as full a picture as possible, but invariably things will get lost. So for example, when I covered Inner City Press and then I did Klasfeld, I was like, oh, this wasn't in Inner City Press's thing. And I made that point that it wasn't Matthew's fault. It's just impossible to do. But when we were looking through Adam Klasfeld's back and forth exchange, when they were arguing about whether or not Trump violated the gag order, so this part didn't come out in Klasfeld's version because he just missed it, or either didn't hear it, or he's running through and getting whatever he can, and he missed this part here. But I was like, I don't know why Judge Merchant is saying that there's any claim that failure to press a gag order is now in some way impinging on the court's ability to go after other gag orders. Apparently, an argument that Blanche made, which Klasfeld didn't have an opportunity to throw into his thread there, was that Blanche made a point, which sounds like a reasonable point, that if he's tweeting stuff out and reposting, and there's no one saying anything about it, so that leads him to believe that's not considered a violation. So Merchant, now I understand Merchant's response, saying, "What, you think that is failure? That there's a waiver as soon as we fail to, the prosecutor fails to hold him in violation for violating the gag, that serves as a waiver going forward?" And he's like, "No, we don't know how to interpret this gag." That's not what he's saying. But that's why we only know this because Inner City Press throws this in here, saying he reposted others and people didn't act. So that you can understand where Merchant says, oh, so that means that serves as a waiver, and that they no longer can act on these things going forward. This is so impossible. Just trying to wrap your head about what's happening in this courtroom. It's so aggravating. It's so aggravating. And it's not the fault of any of these fine reporters who are doing their best to try and share with you what's happening in the courtroom. To hold any of them at fault for is really unfair, because it's holding them to a yardstick that no one could possibly fulfill. So I credit them for going there and doing their damnedest. And I recommend you guys follow both of them. And just what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to basically parse out this, no different from anyone else, as to what happened in that courtroom. So the prosecutor said the defendant saw an emergency. Let's go back to this whole issue here with respect to this contempt request. So as seen through the eyes of Matthew Lee of Inner City Press, defendant saw an emergency stay in the first apartment. It was denied. Defendant hasn't stopped. Yesterday, just outside the courtroom, the defendant violated the gag order on camera. He said Cohen's a lawyer. He wasn't very good. That doesn't seem to be about his testimony, but maybe it is. I don't know. He's not allowed to talk about his testimony. Prosecutor says the defendant said Cohen put in an invoice and the defendant, got indicted. So the defendant should be held in contempt of court. You're saying it's not even about for legal skills. So you're saying he's going to testify it wasn't for his lawyering. So then how is that a violation? It's about what we're expecting him to testify about. I'm expecting him to testify that it wasn't for his legal services. So in that case, it's not about his anticipated testimony. Right? I mean, let's think about this, right? Money is paid from Trump to Cohen. Trump claims it was part of his legal invoices. We know that Cohen is anticipated to testify that it was payback for monies that were advanced to Stormy Daniels, not for legal services. So now Trump is gagged from speaking about anything that we expect Cohen to testify about. So he's going to be testifying that this was payback for a loan, not for legal services. So when Trump says something like he was a lawyer, not a very good one, that's not what we're expecting him to testify about. We're expecting him to testify about the fact that he was payback on a loan. But the prosecutor gets up here and says, defendant said Cohen put in an invoice and he got indicted. So the defendant should be held in contempt of court. On April 10th at 10:07, the defendant reproduced a post by Michael Avenatti. The defendant added 2 sleaze bags. In his classic Trumpian way. So Merchant says, link it to the gag order. Tell me how this is a violation of the gag. Prosecutor says, Mike Cohen and Stormy Daniels are known to be witnesses. But what about their testimony? Next, defendant posts a picture of a document. Official statement of Stormy Daniels. He added, will the fake news report it? Next, defendant posted, has Mark Pomerantz been prosecuted? Or Cohen, then he added MAGA 2024. Next, while defendant was likely in the courthouse, he posted on True Social a series, I think he meant serial perjurer, a reference to Michael Cohen. Maybe it is. I don't know. Wait, are you saying he's a serial perjurer? How do you know he's talking about Mike Cohen? Prosecutor put it on his campaign website, IC Michigan, which I understand to mean, in case you missed it, a link to an article. Oh, okay. He posted on Truth Social the same link about serial perjurer. On April 16th at 7:09 p.m., defendant posted a picture of Cohen. Prosecutor defendant posted a link to someone named Jesse Waters, whoever that may be, because no one in New York ever heard of Jesse Waters, about the jurors, quote, trying to get to the jury. Merchant, what did he say? On Truth, defendant said liberal activists lying to try and get on a Trump judge. To get on the Trump jury, he probably meant. It's a violation. And then we lost juror number 2. There's a lawful order of the court. Despite ongoing appeals, he violates the order when he posts about witnesses in the jury, not just individual jurors. I wonder when he says over here, ongoing appeals, plural. It's not just Trump's appeal about the gag. despite ongoing appeals. I do wonder if Trump knows that I filed this thing. Not that I did it really for him. I did it really to uphold the Constitution. But he would be a beneficiary. I did tell his lawyers about it. Haven't heard from them. Haven't heard from anyone. The only people I hear from are you guys. And I love hearing from you guys. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's weird. It's weird. It's like eerie. It's eerie. He violates the order when he posts about witness to jury, not the individual jurors. Defendant was willful. Throwing MAGA in the post doesn't make it political. It may make it more ominous. They both call it that. He complains that reposts are not his statements, but consider the photo of the defendant holding a bat. The district attorney's head. We're not asking for incarceratory penalty. We're asking for a $1,000 fine for each of these 10 posts, and then he'd be ordered to take the 10 posts down. Oh, you want him taken down. Now, asking him to take it down is restricting his past speech. Theoretically. I don't know. It's less violative of his free speech rights than the gag order itself. Trump lawyers blame Trump knows what the gag order allows him to do. There's no question that Trump is under political attack, including these two witnesses. Trump's posts were not directed at their testimony. Which particular posts? The post about Avenatti. Cohen responds politically. Cohen wrote, Trump would never pardon him. You're saying this is political? Both, yes, both talk about the desire for him not to be reelected. That does make it sound more political, right? If he's talking about whether or not Avenatti... See, he's making it clearer now when I'm reading it in the context of this. When they talk about being a pardon, they're talking about whether or not Trump would offer Avenatti a pardon. So that does seem to make it more political. Bob the God Made Mad says, hate speech, war crimes, falafel, all useless terms. I bet that judge loves Mondays, that dandy. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means, brother. Felix says, all this started before any run for office started to keep Mrs. Trump out to know about Stormy. So this Stormy garbage was not hush money, but blackmail payments. Cohen knows this. What else is Cohen lying about? I think he's probably lying about a lot of things, personally. It's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that because Trump said that. I think he's a habitual lie. Some people are habitual line steppers. He's like a habitual line stepper. He's like a habitual line stepper. If you know, you know the reference. If you don't, you don't. He's like a habitual line stepper. But I think Mark Cohen is a habitual liar. Habitual liar. Habitual liar. Merchant said, have you spoken to Avenatti about what he intended? If not, how do you know? The use of the word pardon, you say allows your client to respond. You're suggesting that one word allows your client to violate gag order? You can respond. Blair says he can respond. The gag order goes back to the D.C. Circuit. They said it can be hard to determine if a statement is about the trial or beyond. As to Stormy Daniels, her statement has been public. 6 years old. What is the recent attack? Stormy Daniels' credibility doesn't matter unless she takes the stand. It matters because he's running for president. What's he responding to? The documentary. To you? I'm asking the questions. Okay. Don't turn around on me. It's almost 10:30 a.m. and I'm bringing the jury in 11. We're only on exhibit 2 of 10. Tell me what attacks he was responding to. He's attacking the system. He can do that. What was he responding to? To the two systems of justice in this courtroom. You're saying there are two systems of justice in the courtroom? Mr. Weisselberg is in jail. Matt Cohen is not. And then he said, you're suggesting that because the people... So apparently, now Klasfeld reported that the judge bristled at this. We don't get that here from Inner City Press. I don't know that Klasfeld's right. Inner City Press just left it out. I don't know if Klasfeld misinterpreted. We don't know. This is part of the shortcoming of not having the trial where we could see that for ourselves. Very frustrating that it's not being televised. That happens to be the law in New York. I personally disagree with that law. But that is the law in New York. Merchant says it's just because people in court do not respond to every violation the gag order is waived. It's not. Does not negate the validity of the gag order. Trump's lawyer Blanche, he reposted others and people did not act. How does his account work? Blanche says, there's a group of folks that look for articles they think Trump's audience should know about. Merchant says, not passive. Someone had to do something. Is your client saying he thought reposting couldn't violate the gag order? You've presented nothing. Do you want me to put President Trump on the stand? Is that what you're asking for? Ooh, that's an interesting little thing. That's an interesting wrinkle. See, this is why it's good to have a second set of eyes here, reporting in here. Do you want me to put Trump on the stand? Your client went beyond what Jesse Waters said. He typed it out, the shift key and all. What's your argument on this? His view is that there were liberal activists trying to get on the jury. Every website discussed the jury. Here's a post from Trump's lawyer says, here's a post from Jesse Waters saying the same thing. 3 hours after your client, then Merchant says, 3 hours after your client posted what he posted. Anything else? We're trying to comply with this gag order. Merchant says, you're losing credibility. We didn't think that repost violated the gag order. If you see it that way and want to take them down, of course we'll take them down. Merchant says, you're not giving me, he says, I wasn't finished. What if a person was walking about with a placard saying terrible things, your client took it and walked around with it? That's fine? That's what you're saying? It's an interesting question. So, the class file reported this, but I understand this question a lot better now. So he's saying, so basically Judge Merchant is asking Trump's attorneys, you're saying there's nothing wrong with it because he's just reposting it. So if someone writes a placard and then he takes that placard and walks around with it, does that make it that it's not his speech? This is something that has come up a lot in the law we've seen over the last couple of years. Remember when during the Depp v. Heard trial, they talked about whether a statement became Amber Heard's because she made a quote tweet rather than just retweeting it. There seems to be this assumption that if you just retweet something, that's definitely not something that we can count as your statement. If you quote tweet it, it could become your statement. Certainly the part you're writing becomes your statement. So Blanche says, but it's entirely different. Merchant says, you could have asked. We're considering a repost. Can we do it? We'll take our break. I'm going to reserve judgment on this. The defense on Trump is Cohen and Miss Daniels are not, which is, frankly, Mr. Prosecutor, what makes this all the more unconstitutional, arguably. And he says, see you at 11. And then they had the whole back and forth. Here, where Inner City Press says they're back, 11:20 instead of 11. Welcome back, Pecker. I remind you, you're still under oath. I'm doing a quick scan here to see the parts that may not have been covered by class file that seem important. We talk about Celebrity Apprentice. It was going to be, if someone's going to be fired, Mr. Trump will give me information first. That's good for my magazines. And he says they talk monthly. They met at Bar Mitzvah around 2000. Then Trump introduced me to him in 2007. He said Cohen lived in one of his condos. Trump told me to tell Mr. Cohen that there were rumors about him. From 2015 to 2017, how often would you speak to Cohen? More every week or daily? Do you know Hope Hicks? Yes. As Trump's communications director, she worked for Ivanka's beauty business. Once Trump ran for president, our magazine would sell best with him on the cover. He was seen as the boss on his show. We did a poll. 80% of readership on the National Enquirer wanted him to run for president. Matt Lauer interviewed him. I'm sure that Matt regrets that now. Pecker says Mike Cohen invited me to Trump's announcement of his candidacy for president. And then they show him People's Exhibit 151, an email from Cohen, dated June 2nd, inviting him to the June 16th announcement. And then coming down the elevator, the escalator. Pecker said, I saw we could publish positive stories about Trump, negative stories about his opponents, and I notified Cohen. We saw that, discussed with anyone. Dylan Howard, I told him, let's keep this quiet. Why? Being a tabloid company, we had leaks. There a series of pro-Trump headlines, and we talked about some of these headlines, which were attacking Cruz and Ben Carson. What did you understand of the relation between Mike Cohen and their campaign? Objection! Overruled. I said he should object. Cohen was physically there in Trump Tower campaign office. I'll show you these. Bungling surgeon and Ben Carson left a sponge in patient's brain. Ted Cruz shamed by a porn star. Do you run this in the National Choir? Yes, we would send the PDFs to Matt Cohen pre-publication. And this one, Donald Trump blasts Ted Cruz dad for photo with JFK assassin. Oh yes, we did that. And Marco Rubio. What was Rubio gaining the polls? I guess so. And Steve Bannon. I sent him a bunch of Hillary articles to his apartment somewhere on the Upper West Side. Did Steve Bannon ever pitch articles to you? Objection, overruled. Did Steve Bannon ever ask you to run your article? Objection, may I be heard? Sidebar. Jurors, we're going to have to discuss this. You may step out. Jurors, leave. Then Trump's lawyer, Bo, says, this is eliciting hearsay from Bannon. He's not alleged to be a co-conspirator in this case. There's no conspiracy charge in this case. We're eliciting a verbal act what Bannon asked Pecker to do. Steinglass says, this will come again. Bannon's name is all over this case. Merchant says, bring the jury. Please be seated. Were you CEO of AMI? Did the business records include invoices and non-disclosure agreements? Yes. Have you received the records including emails of his thumb drive? Yes. Were they collected pursuant to a search warrant? Yes. I offered these exhibits, 154, 170, 179. Trump's lawyer says objection. You have a new whisper. Merchant says the defense objection is noted and overruled to the extent there was embedded hearsay. Well, deal with it as it comes up. All right. Have you heard of Dino Sajidin? Pecker says he was telling a story about Trump having an illegitimate daughter with a maid. I told my Cohen as part of our August agreement, Cohen said he would verify the name and call back. Then what? I told Dylan we would prepare a source agreement that Dino should take a polygraph. What were you to say? Don't say that. What is a source agreement? With a tipster, we get exclusive rights, say 90 days. Did you do one with Mr. Sajidin? Yes, and we arranged a $500 polygraph. Please don't talk about the polygraph results, because the polygraph showed that Sajidin was lying. But polygraph results are also inadmissible, so that's another reason that could be kept out. We brought it for $30,000. Cohen told me Mr. Trump would take a DNA test. He's German, Irish, and this woman is Hispanic. Why did you buy it? If it was true, it would be our biggest seller since the death of Elvis. That's funny. People's 154, Sajidin contract, read it. Pecker says $30,000 set forth below. We hired an investigator and found this story was 1,000% untrue. Not true, fiction. This was a false story. Why did you pay? If another outlet gets it, I'd be embarrassed. I show you people exhibit 164. Objection, please approach. I'll admit it, subject to redactions. They redacted some portion of it. We don't know what the objection was based on. Maybe there was some hearsay. We don't know. The email requires a wire transfer and his W-9. What did Cohen say about it? To lock him, Sajidin, in until after the election. Did there come a time you did release him? Yes, Sharon Churcher was another reporter. She worked for Barry Levine. This is Dino's release. Who is Karen McDougal? She was a Playboy model who was trying to sell a story about a relationship she had with Trump for a year. I told my Cohen, he said, untrue. I said, let's vet it. Did you discuss paying? No. I told Cohen we'd keep him apprised. Did you come to believe Cohen had spoken with Mr. Trump? Yes. It was my biggest... I was at my biggest investor in AMI in New Jersey making a presentation at Trump, and Donald Trump called me. He said he'd have Cohen call me. I sent Dylan Howard out to California. He met with lawyer Keith Davidson and Karen, interviewed her for a few hours. In that time, I spoke with Cohen. He kept on calling me, more anxious each time. And then he said, it's 2 o'clock, we'll break. Mr. Bove, your objection is noted. I'll take it under review. We'll put it in a letter. So I think that's what we're up to here. Pecker still seems like he's on the stand on direct, based on what Inner City Press, because it seems as if this all stopped at 2 o'clock and they were done for the day on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So that means that when they open up tomorrow, this is my speculation, but it implies that tomorrow Pecker is going to continue his direct testimony, and we have not seen him get crossed yet. That's what I'm taking from what I'm getting from Inner City Press. I highly recommend that you guys sign up to Inner City Press if you're on X at all, and you want Matthew Russell Lee. He's a smart lawyer. He's an attorney and a smart guy and a good person, and he's a diligent, crazy hard worker to cover stories and cover trials, and he's great at this. This is much harder to do than it looks. It's much harder. It's very, very hard. It's just you're trying to concentrate on everything that's happening. You're taking everything down. You're trying to get it out and trying to capsize what you're hearing and get important quotes where you can get them. And sometimes you don't get them exactly right, and you're glancing over your other reporters who are sitting next to you. It's just very stressful, and you're working for like hours straight, just typing away and focusing here, like you're a court reporter. But without the benefits of that, they're able to condense everything into like 30 keys and get whole words at a time, and you're basically sitting there letter by letter trying to catch everything, which is next to impossible. So I recommend you guys follow Inner City Press. I also recommend you follow Adam Klasfeld. I understand some people say that Adam's more left-leaning. I don't know. It could be. I don't know. But at this point, we need any source of information we can get who's actually giving us play-by-play as to what's happening in the courtroom is invaluable for what is arguably the most significant criminal trial in American history. So I tip my cap to these fine gentlemen, and I'm thinking I might go down there tomorrow. Look, I'll tell you this much: a lot of people are pressing me. I'm going to check out where I'm at on my poll here. Where's my poll saying I should do? As I started the show off, I mentioned that I'm covering this on goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. I have an ongoing poll as to what I should do tomorrow, because I'm really torn. I'm very, very torn. Do I want to go to court and be a third person reporting from there? Obviously, there's more than 3 people. I got to try getting to the courtroom. Last time I went down there, I was rejected. Do I want to go down to the first department and try and argue with the clerk, who's basically making it impossible for me to share links to my lawsuit against Judge Merchant trying to overturn the gag order? Or do I live stream Supreme Court oral arguments about presidential immunity, which is supposed to happen tomorrow morning? I'm going to see where my poll is holding up at right now. Let me check that out. Where are you? There's my poll on that. Where's my poll? Right now, 46% are telling me I should live stream SCOTUS. 30% is saying I should go to trial, and 23% is saying I should go to the appellate court. That's much closer than it was before. Much closer than it was before. I've got 160 people who voted in there. So, yeah, I'm very, very torn about this. Very, very torn. And Filament left me a 50 coin tip, so thank you, Filament. Appreciate that. Let me catch up here. The line is a dot to you. Not sure what you're referring to here with this. Not gonna kid you. That was 15 minutes ago. And Cohen comes off as the guy in high school. I had no personality, no friends. Will lie and exaggerate about everything in a desperate attempt to be accepted. Yeah, and desperately a bully. Like he's like desperately a bully. Desperately. Leslie says, if you write a quote in a book, it's not your speech, and you have to add reference. That is what a repost is. It's a fair point. Also saying follow-up, it's about publishing, not a signboard. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not the same thing as a signboard. I think that's what Blanche was trying to say. Master Phillips hitting with another 20 memberships to the following. Following people now gifted memberships courtesy of Master Phillips. Jordan 801, Sedowin, Kevin in ABQ. No, I got this one before. I gotta go down. I got those before. No, this time it's Narcissus Khan, Black Dragon, a job done well. There you go. Bethany Joe, Court TV Addict, Stina Morgan, Raven, I Love Ketchup, Cheryl, Charles G, CS 101, Two Wheelin' in Wheeling, KJ, Oni Chan, Captain Z, Tug Simp, a Tug Simp, there you go, Lynette Crute, RC, Summer is 19, Dan A. All you gifted memberships courtesy of Master Phillips. God bless you, Master Phillips, the disciple. He's not just a follower, he's a disciple. He's like a level above. He's a level above Master Phillips. A level above. And bringing so many people into the fold. God bless you. God bless you, my brother. Thank you so much, Master Phillips. Disciple number 7. Very impressive. Very impressive. Now, why you might think that makes him a disciple of me? No. No, 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 no. No. I am not the leader. I'm not the leader. I'm a follower. I'm just a little guy. I'm a little guy on the side. I'm over on the side, over here. Just a little guy. I'm a host. A host, maybe. I mean, I guess I'm a host. I'm a host. I say that I open every show by saying I'm a host. But I'm definitely not the leader. Not the leader. Not the leader. If anything, Worcestershire, I think, was the leader. Right? Worcestershire is his leader. Felix's quote from Friends about crossing the line. Nope. Wrong. That's what you thought it was. No, the habitual line stepper. He's a habitual... I can't believe no one knew what that line was, what that was from. He's a habitual line stepper. He's a habitual line stepper. None of you? Wait. And yeah, if you're asking me about getting in line for a free membership on Locals, hit me up on Twitter @thefollowingpro, and I will take care of you. I'll take care of you. Thank you. There we go. Charlie Murphy. Darkness is falling. Charlie Murphy. That's right, Chappelle. Well done, Sultran. Charlie Murphy. All right. This is an interesting thing that I wanted, while we're talking about this indictment. Gateway Pundit has this report about a quote-unquote fatal mistake by DA Alvin Bragg in his efforts to convict Trump. I want to go through this with you here. So I'm not sure if they're correct. Rick James. You're a couch. You're a couch. It doesn't make me a boomer. Just makes me a connoisseur of fine comedy. So this is what we got here. Okay? DA Bragg's attorneys make fatal error when revealing underlying crime in hush money case. Trump attorneys must move to dismiss now. This is by a guest contributor. I don't know who this guest contributor. What is this? What's a guest It's just any guest? I don't know. All right. Well, anyhow. The attorneys representing corrupt DA in New York, Alvin Bragg, this according to the Gateway Pundit, in their case against President Trump, have made a serious error in their case. President Trump's attorneys must move to dismiss. DA Bragg's case is in serious trouble. The gang behind the prosecution of President Trump made a serious error that should lead President Trump's team to move to dismiss. Prosecutors in New York have revealed what the other crime is that Donald Trump was allegedly trying to conceal when he was falsifying business records, and they claim it was to unlawfully promote his candidacy. Now, understand this. New York Penal Code 175.10, which there's 34 charges against Donald Trump for that specific crime, is falsifying business records in an attempt to conceal another crime, which means you need to have another crime that this is all trying to conceal. If there's no other crime, then you're not in violation of New York Penal Code 175.10. So it begs the question, in this particular case, what is the other crime? The other crime, the bum bum bum. What is the other crime? I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs. Such a great. I would share the clip of it, but I know that I would just be fighting Comedy Central, and I would just be like getting all red flagged up and down. You can find it yourselves. You can find it yourselves. Comedy Central will make me crazy over it. I'm not going to fight with them. I'm not going to fight with them. So, sorry, but yeah, it's classic comedy. All right, so prosecutors in New York, what is this other crime that is we call that the predicate crime. So this other crime that he's looking to conceal, and by purportedly falsifying business records. So what is this other crime? The predicate crime. So prosecutors in New York have revealed what the other crime is that Donald Trump is alleged to try to conceal when he's falsifying business records, and they claim it was to unlawfully promote his candidacy. The fatal error is that New York statute they cite only applies to elections within the state of New York and not federal elections. Well, okay. That could be a fatal error. That could be a problem. Trump was running for federal office of President of the United States and not a state office, and therefore the premise of what the prosecution is trying to prove as the second crime used to get around the statute of limitations issue and to elevate the business records case to felony must fail. Prosecutors also cannot use a federal law as a second crime. That's an argument that a lot of us have heard, and that was I was saying a year ago. And additionally, the FEC declined two occasions to prosecute the claim against Trump that allegedly hush money payment was in fact a federal violation, which that you would think would help him as well. In this case, Bragg and Colangelo, in exercise of legal analysis of the law, maintain that Trump, Cohen, and Pecker conspired to get Trump elected to President of the United States. This is the basis for the elevation of charges. That's enough to dismiss 10 in this case, but that's not all. What is the I'd love to see what the statute is. Can you get me the statute? See, this is very strange. Because when they're saying I'm trying to understand what Gateway Pundit is getting at here. I'm a little confused. I'm not going to kid you. I'm a little confused. Because I always thought there was a federal crime. Unlawfully promote his candidacy. Can I get a statute? Is it a federal statute? Did they say what it was? You know, I've heard a claim, and this is an interesting thought, which is if you cannot at least tell us what the alleged crime is, how is he supposed to defend it? You're supposed to be able to face your accuser. I don't even know what my accuser is saying was the crime we were trying to cover up. And if they're not going to identify the specific statute that he was looking to cover up, you're sort of left in this no man land. And it does feel as if Alvin Bragg purposefully has sort of like held off as long as possible in specifying what that predicate crime was. And arguably, could this lead to a dismissal of the charges? Possibly. It possibly could. I don't know. I mean, there was when they tried moving to dismiss, we saw all these claims that it's too late to move to dismiss. But maybe if once they finally lock in on what the crime is, at that point it would be ripe and say, okay, that's not valid for New York Penal Code 175.10 to try and press and uphold and apply it to this federal statute. I don't know. But Alvin Bragg has appeared to be very shifty as to exactly what this predicate crime is. Is it a state crime? Is it a federal crime? We all assume it's a federal crime, and then when you wonder how is it you can use a state crime concealing a federal crime, that sounds very strange. Nature and cause from Sixth Amendment not stated. Yeah, that's, I mean, the nature that the counter from Alvin Bragg would be, well, we told you that it's 175.10, New York Penal Code 175.10, but there must be a secondary crime. And then the question is that a violation of the Sixth Amendment to not tell you what crime was purportedly being hidden? You and I would say, yes, that's a violation of Sixth Amendment rights. Whether I haven't researched that to tell you that that is actually considered constitutionally a violation of his rights. Nor is it that would not be my place to raise that issue. That's for his attorneys to raise. I'm not his attorney. I have standing to raise issues with respect to where my rights of freedom of the press are being infringed, which that's why I bring my pending action against Judge Merchant in the First Department. But this, with respect to his potential legal defenses based on Sixth Amendment violations, that is exclusively between Trump and the state, Trump courtesy of his attorneys. So his attorneys would have to press that claim. That would not be a claim that you or I would have any standing to make on his behalf. But I do think that's a logical issue to be raising. Okay, so in this case, Bragg exercise illegal. Let's go forward here. This case refers to accounting entries made by President Trump, which is lunacy, or entries President Trump forced others to make, but these entries were made in 2017. So how could President Trump possibly impact the 2016 election with accounting entries that were made, clearly not by the president, of some entry-level accountant in his multi-billion-dollar organization in 2017? These are questions I asked a year ago. Like, how is he concealing? What is he looking to conceal? On top of that, even far-left radical liberals are shaking their heads in this case and the evidence used to get Trump. Trump, who faces 34 counts of falsifying business records in connection with the payments made to Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election, was discussed on MSNBC's Morning Joe, where legal analyst Lisa Rubin presented a skeptical view of the prosecution's case. Quote, "The big takeaway is that this is a crime about falsification of business records, and yet what the government seems to have the most evidence of is the underlying conspiracy." Rubin explained it on this show. She highlighted a lack of direct evidence linking Trump to the specific crime charged. What's still unknown to me is how they're going to prove Donald Trump's own involvement in the falsification of the business records. Trump handed over his companies to his sons before his inauguration in January 2017. The county entries in question were made after the handover occurred. What? What? See, he's falsifying records that he's not even in control of, a company that he's not even in control of? That's the crime that he committed? Wow. President Trump didn't make any entries because no CEO of any multi-billion-dollar company makes entries to the financials. The accounting discussion in this case doesn't make any sense to anyone who ever worked in a large financial reporting operation. Wow. What was that? That's not what we wanted. New notification. All right. Yeah. Wow. I gotta tell you something. I don't know what's going to happen with this case. I don't know if he's going to be found convicted. I don't know if he's going to be found not guilty. I know this is going to go on for several weeks. I do expect I'm going to be making multiple appearances in the courthouse, trying to keep track of this case as it unfolds. Even though I don't know that I'm going to be going there tomorrow, and if I go there, it's probably going to be like after. It might be. I'm going to be fighting this gag issue. I feel as if I'm going to be fighting this gag issue on multiple fronts till the cows come home. But I will tell you that I do expect to be making many appearances in the courthouse trying to keep track of this case as it's happening, which is another reason that if you're here, I'm going to urge you that while you're here, if you could please like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Listen to the cartoon. It's going to give you a thumbs up if you do it. You just got to hit that subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button, and boom, look at that. No thumbs up. Even looks a little like me. So, there you go. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Join me over on goodlogic.locals.com. It's goodlogic.locals.com. All right. I think I'm wrapping up. I'm landing my plane here. We're getting to the point where the plane feels very close to being landed. Very close to being landed. That's definitely happening soon. So, any questions? Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? Felix says, the predicate is the cause, which goes to Fourth Amendment. They have seized him and brought forth in the court. They have not stated articulated facts for cause. Felix, you're preaching to the choir. But I don't claim to be sufficiently versed in this area of law to make a definitive legal statement on it. So I don't have any grounds to argue with you. I'm simply not going to take that position without doing my due diligence first, because as an attorney, I sort of feel that if I'm going to make a statement about the law, that I should be sufficiently well versed in it that if I get challenged on it, I can cite back to case law, or at least think back to case law rather than just going with what my gut tells me sounds correct. If that makes sense. So that's where I'm at on that. That is where I'm at on that. Let me check over here, make sure I didn't miss anything, as I want to do. Dano says Stormy sold her soul $1. $1 at a time. Poor Stormy. $1 at a time. All right. All right, tomorrow's going to be a big day. I will be streaming, God willing, tomorrow evening, so make sure that you're signed up over here and you get notifications by going over to goodlogic.locals.com. I'm going to land my plane over here. I thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all tomorrow. And by the way, before you go, very good chance, the way the polling's going right now, as I'm looking at this poll, very good chance I will be streaming the SCOTUS case. It sounds like I'm going to be streaming it. Let me see what time the SCOTUS case is. I think, is it 10 a.m.? Check out SCOTUS blog. It's usually at 10 a.m. I remember seeing something that might be later. SCOTUS blog. Events. Trump v. U.S. May 12th. Arguments April 25th. What time? What time? I'm looking over here at this, and I'm seeing April 25th. And docket 23939. We're gonna get a time. Any of you have a time here for me? What time? What time? What time? Any criminal case get thrown into a lack of predicate or articulable facts for cause seize arrest. Any good investigating DA knows this. But like I said, I'm not a criminal defense attorney. I've never been a prosecutor. So, yeah. And that's why I'm not going to, that's why I'm just not going to weigh in. I'm telling you right now, no matter how much you try to sell me on, Felix, you're not going to convince me to weigh in. I said, what you're saying makes sense to me. And you're preaching to the choir that to me, it feels off. But I'm not going to make a legal statement. And that's not going to change during the course of this stream. Are we going to get a time? That's not it. It is a kamikaze landing. It's terrible landing my plane. Terrible landing my plane. What time is this thing? What time? Let me see if ESPN. There's a good chance I'll be on ESPN. Neither is Bragg, Fanning, and Smith. They suck. Yeah, that's true. I say ESPN, but that's not what I wanted. C-SPAN is I said ESPN. $9.50? Robert G. scheduled for $9.50. Alright. So I guess it's 10 a.m. I'm guessing it's 10 a.m. Alright. So look for that at 10 a.m. It's seeming like I'm going to be covering that at 10 a.m. We'll see whether or not this presidential immunity, we'll see how the court is going. Should be exciting. It seems as if that's where I'm going to end up tomorrow. It's going to be live streaming SCOTUS arguments. So I urge you to check in with me here, and I'll give you my perspectives as to where the court seems to be leading based on the questions. Do we know where a court's going to end up? No. I will tell you this. When I listen to oral arguments, more often than not, you get a pretty good feel as to where the court is leaning. Like, for example, after I heard oral arguments on the 14th Amendment issue, I said this is going to be at least 8-1 in Trump's favor. And potentially unanimous, which it ended up being. So, I urge you, check it out with me tomorrow. I'll probably start a little bit before 10, right here on Good Lawgic. But if you want the links, come to goodlogic.locals.com. I thank you all for joining me. I will see you, God willing, almost certainly tomorrow morning, because you're going to come back here. Come back here, 10 a.m. Eastern. 10 a.m. Eastern. Till then, my friends, thank you so much for joining me. Have a good night. Do not eat the bugs. And as always, Godspeed.